I mean this as a compliment, okay? I think we all agree, we all already know this, that comic book fans are some of the most faithful fans that exist. If anyone says something about a comic book or a superhero, whatever it is, they'll be the first to correct you. If I were to say, you know, I think my favorite superhero is Batman, immediately I'd be shut down, and they say, but Nick, everybody knows Batman is not a superhero. He has no superpowers. He's a vigilante. He has money. He has smarts. He has gadgets. He has no superpowers. See, that's what superhero fans, true comic book reading fans, that's how they are. They're that in tune with all the details. So, what a perfect way to test out your skills if you're really like a huge fan of comic book, superhero. Here's what I'm thinking today. I cannot think of one bald superhero. At least not one that's relevant. At least not one that gets his own movies or even gets to show up in, you know, even like an all-star movie like Avengers or something. I struggle right now to think of one superhero who's bald or balding. Of course, there's Lex Luthor, but of course he's the bad guy. And of course, according to the new version of the Batman and Superman movies, he had hair, but then he shaved it after he went to prison or whatever. But I can't think of a bald superhero. They all have hair. Now, we all agree that the current Superman, you know, he's balding. He's at least as 2.5 with some vertex thinning like I've got. And he's about the same age as me. But most people don't see him as balding. They don't. So, am I right about this? There's not balding super. So imagine this. Black Panther. Celebration. Breaking records. Yes. A black superhero series. It's great. I haven't seen it yet, but I will. And I know it is great. So we've got our first really popular Marvel superhero that's black. Yes. That's awesome. I'm so happy, especially during Martin Luther King Day and Black History Month. I love it. I love being able to see that happen. And we've seen Wonder Woman. We've seen a female superhero that can be a hit, be a success. But we haven't seen a bald superhero, right? I mean, we can think of some villains, but I've yet to think of one that it has noticeable hair loss. I mean, even going back to Chris Pratt in Guardians of the Galaxy, we could argue that his hairline might be similar to mine, but a lot of people have said he had a hair transplant or he's had some kind of work done himself. Now, it's funny because here's what made me think about it. You know, Die Hard, one of the best movies made. You've got a noticeably balding Bruce Willis. What would we say? What do we say? Can we say Norwood 4, or do we just still say Norwood 3.5 with vertex? Whatever we say, he's noticeably balding in the first one, and he becomes balder as they go on. Of course, they're not as good as they go on. But the first one from what, 1988, Bruce Willis, a balding superhero. No, I'm not really meaning a superhero, but he is a hero and he is super. He doesn't have superpowers. He's just a cop. But either way, action stars. He started it in the late 80s. And of course, I can't not keep mentioning the Fast and Furious movies, because it seems, what, half of the male cast shave their heads because they're balding? You know? And then, of course, what, the Jason Statham guy and the Transporter and Jet Li. We're thinking of all these action stars, and they're balding and they're shaving their heads. Now, granted, they're older, arguably. They're, you know, I think when Vin Diesel started the Fast and Furious movies, I think he was already like pushing mid-30s at that point. So maybe that's part of it. Maybe the superheroes start out younger. But then you've got Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. He was in his 40s, right, when he started that. You know, of course, someone might say, well, he had a hair transplant. Maybe, I don't know. But I am noticing we can have a successful female superhero. We can have a very successful black superhero series, franchise, Black Panther. And again, I'm so happy about this. I love that. But when will we have a bald or noticeably balding superhero, like a major one that gets their own movie or at least gets a prominent role in one of the movies that Marvel or DC makes. Has that happened yet? Because I'm really still struggling to think of one time I can think of. Hair always seems to be a major part of these guys, especially when you have ones that have a dichotomy to them. Like even the Hulk. Even the Hulk. He has hair. And granted, we might say that the newest version of Hulk has a hairline like mine. But of course, you know, Mark Ruffalo's in his mid-40s, right? Or late 40s. But even the Hulk has hair. So Batman has a... And granted, in the the Michael Keaton Batman, I would argue that he was same as me, if not worse, as far as, but again, he was also in his 30s, but he wasn't bald, right? I mean, I am right about this, right? That so far we've yet to have a successful bald or balding superhero. They always have hair. Can you think of one exception? I know that you can. Tell me what the exception is in the comments, but not some obscure thing that I've never heard of, like the Chrome Dome, and he's like this pioneered like robot thing. And no, I mean like a real one that we've heard of that's been in a movie in the last 10 years and they were successful. Show me that. Prove me wrong, please. Because right now, I can't stop thinking about how there's not a bald superhero that is popular and cool.